Hi, I'm Andrew. Thank you for joining us today for this week's message. I hope you're encouraged and challenged to grow closer to Jesus today. I'd like to remind you that your generosity makes a difference. By giving to Harborside, you're able to be a part of the growth of this ministry. Your giving creates opportunities that continue to make a lasting impact in our city, including people hearing messages just like this one. If you'd like to give today, just text Harborside to 77977. And in 30 seconds or less, you can make a one-time or recurring gift. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy today's message.
So I want you to think about two people that you really love who don't know the Lord. Two people that matter to you. Neighbors, brother, sister, aunt, coworker. I want you to think about those two people who do not know the Lord, but you love them and they matter to you. You got it? All right, I can't tell. You look kind of dead. The king of Israel was in trouble because an enemy had besieged the city, the capital city. Say besieged. Say it a little more passion. Besieged. So an enemy had besieged the city. In other words, they have surrounded it. And now what's going to happen is the enemy just has to starve them out. And so the capital city of Israel is under this besiegement, and the Arameans are just going to wait them out. So there's 4 lepers, though, in this story in 2 Kings chapter 7. If you've got your phones, turn there on your app, your Harborside app. If you're new, just download the Harborside app. All this information's there, fill in the blanks. But we start with 2 Kings chapter 7 with 4 lepers. Say 4 lepers. Now these 4 lepers are in trouble because they're Israelites, but inside the city, everybody's starving and everybody's going to die. And so they realize if we go inside the city, we're going to die. If we stay outside the city, and they're outside the city on the city gates, so picture this great big wall that all the Israelites are inside, the Arameans are on the outside starving them out because no food can come in or go out. And so basically what's happening then is these 4 lepers are sitting there, picture them in the shade, going, we don't have very good options. Really not sure quite what to do. If we go into the city, we will die because we'll starve. If we stay right here, we're going to starve and die. And one of them goes, I know what we'll do. We'll go over to the camp of the enemy and surrender. I mean, we don't have option A, option B. Option C is not very good either, but we'll give it a shot. And so we pick up our story today in 2 Kings chapter 7 with 4 lepers who really don't have very good options. Here's our story. 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. Again, the Israelites, the king of Israel, they're inside, they're in trouble, they're being starved out. The 4 lepers said to each other, why stay here until we die? If we say we'll go into the city, the famine is there, and we will what? We will die. And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to camp of the Arameans and surrender. If they spare us, we will live. If they kill us, we will. These are not good options. I mean, A, B, or C is not looking pretty, is it? This is not a good place to be. At dusk, these 4 lepers got up and they went to the camp of the Arameans. So just picture these 4 guys now at dusk going over to this camp, and they're going to surrender. We're going to lay it down, and hopefully they'll feed us and they'll let us live. And when they get there, they got the surprise of their life. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. Now, just don't miss that. There wasn't a great army. God just caused a sound. And the sound released from God causes this incredible confusion. And the Arameans believe that mercenaries have been hired and that the Israelites have hired all these mercenaries, and we are in trouble. Just the sound of God caused this incredible confusion. For the Lord God had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army, so that they said to one another, look, the king of Israel, he's hired the Hittites, he's hired the Egyptian kings to come attack us. So all the Arameans got up, and they fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was, and they ran for their lives. It's a great story. The men who had leprosy reached the edge of the camp. So now the 4 lepers get there, and lo and behold, it's the surprise of their life. They entered one of the tents, and there's food, baby. It's a smorgasbord. Holy smoke, we haven't eaten in months. And now they ate and they drank. Then they took silver, gold, and clothes. I mean, this is like unbelievable. They've won 8 lotteries in the last 5 seconds. I mean, this is unbelievable. They eat, they drink, they're bloated. They go to the next tent, they eat and drink. They're about to throw up. I mean, these guys are gorging themselves. They're stuffing themselves. They're taking everything they possibly can. They took silver, gold, clothes. They went off, hid them. Then they returned, entered another tent. They ate and all that kind of stuff, took some of the things from it, and they hid it also. Then the 4 lepers kind of come to their senses. You know, what we're doing isn't right. This is a day of good news, and we're keeping it to ourselves. If we wait until daylight, punishment will overtake us. Let's go at once and report this to the royal palace. So they went and they called out to the city gatekeeper. So you can just see now, these 4 lepers are now stuffed, bloated, can barely walk, They show up at the city gates, happy, and they're calling out to the city gates, hey, they're not there. They left. And there's like food you wouldn't believe, and there's drink and food and silver and gold and clothes. We have hit the jackpot, is what they're saying. So they called out the gatekeepers, and they said, we went in the Aramaeus camp, and no one was there, not a sound of anyone. All we found were tethered horses, donkeys, and the tents left just as they were. Now the gatekeeper turns around, and he shouts now to the officers and to the king inside the city, to the Israelites. And it was reported within the palace. Now the king gets up, and the king isn't buying this. He thinks it's a trick. They're trying to hoodwink us. The king got up in the night, and he said to his officers, I tell you what the Arameans have done to us. They know we're starving. So they left the camp, and they're hiding out in the countryside. They're just waiting for us to come in the camp, and they're going to ambush us, right? They will surely come out, and then we will take them alive and get into the city, is what they're thinking, as the king says. Well, one of the officers is going, okay, king, you're probably right, and you're in charge, but we don't have very good options here. What have we got to lose if we do this? We got nothing to lose at this point. So one of the officers got a bright idea, and he said, look, king, have some of the men take 5 of the horses that are left in the city. Their plight will be like that of all the Israelites left here. In other words, if they are hiding and they do kill them, it doesn't matter. They're going to die and we're going to die. What difference does it make? Their plight will be like that of all the Israelites left here. Yes, they will only be like these Israelites who are doomed. So let us send them, let's find out. Can we just find out what really happened? So they selected 2 chariots with their horses, and the king sent them after the Aramaeus army. He commanded the drivers, go and find out what had happened. They followed them as far as the Jordan, and they found it really did happen. The whole road was strewn with the clothing and equipment the Arameans had thrown away in their headlong flight. So the messenger reported back to the king, you're not going to believe this, but it really did happen. They're gone, and there's food and drink, and this is awesome. And they said, this is a day of good news, and we are keeping it unto ourselves. We've all had that thought. I probably shouldn't just keep this to myself. We've all had that feeling. We all know that we know something that needs to be shared. We have something that needs to be shared. We are something that needs to be shared. We're gifted in some way. All of us in this room have had that thought. I mean, even on like lesser degrees, if you've got a recipe that's kicking and you keep it to yourself, shame on you, right? I mean, if you know how to make homemade key lime pie and you keep that to yourself, you're going to hell. Bottom line, you're not going to make it to the pearly gates. You're going straight to hell. You have a boat mechanic that actually shows up sober and you don't share that with anybody else? I mean, come on. And think about this. If you've got plants in your yard that the deer do not eat and you don't share that with everybody else, we have fed hundreds of deer at our house, haven't we? Where's Mike? I saw Mike a minute ago. Where are you? Yeah. We fed hundreds of deer in our house, and so now we got some new plants, and they're a little prickly, and if they work, I'll tell you. I will tell you. And so the point of this is a day of good news, and we're keeping it to ourselves. We can't do that, can we? If you discovered the cure for a form of breast cancer, if you discovered a form of prostate cancer, and you got the cure, and you keep that to yourself, nobody would understand that. Nobody would get that. Well, this guy here was just flat out amazing. He's the guy that discovered local anesthesia. He's a doc in the Antarctic. He's having an appendicitis. And he knows it's going to rupture. And there's no way to fly him out, big storm. And so he tries local anesthesia. I had some really good pictures, but, you know, a lot of you haven't gutted deer in the room, so I didn't want to show you those. But this guy, with a mirror, performs his own surgery and discovers local, and he shared it then with everybody then understood, and that began the science of understanding local anesthesia. He didn't just keep it to himself. He wasn't about to do that. And so what happens in this story then is you realize that you have something that other people need. You are something that other people would benefit from, and this is a day of really good news. How do we keep this unto ourselves? So I'm going somewhere with this message, but right now I'm going to get off the highway and go into a rest area. We'll get back on the highway in just a minute. I don't want you to miss my hard right turn. Because what I want to talk about now is something I've never noticed about this out of 2 Kings, is their motives for doing what was right. And I never noticed this until about a month ago when I was writing this message. They said to each other, what we're doing is not right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping it to ourselves. Man, if it just ended there. But here's where they said, if we wait until daylight, punishment will overtake us. And that hit me. They're going to go back and give and share, not even for the right motives. They're worried that they're going to be punished. So they're going to give, not out of the goodness of their heart and the overflow of their heart. They're going to be givers of this great bounty because they're worried about the fear of punishment. And so I came across this publication about a month ago. Someone gave this to me, and I'm looking at churches, and we're going to build a new worship center out there, and we'll tell you more about that as we get ready to raise the funds for all this. But in this publication, it talked about 5 different kinds of givers. And I've never thought about this before. This isn't a plug for more money today. We've already had the offering. Most of you give online anyway. But I want you to think about, what kind of a giver are you? Now, I don't know what anybody gives at this church. Probably just about every other church this size, the pastor knows. I don't know. I've never known. I don't want to know. Because I want you to give because you love Jesus, and you give out of the kindness, and you're just overflowing with gratitude. But this article struck me about 5 different kinds of givers. And if you're in this lower category, I want to challenge you to go up the ladder a little bit. So this isn't the point of the message. We got off the highway. We're in the rest area, okay? Go to the restroom, get a glass of water, and we'll get back in the car in just a minute. So if I am a consumer as a giver, I am self-focused, impulsive, and I don't give at all. Now, according to research, there's a whole lot of people in Christendom who never give anything, anytime, any day, any year. I don't get that. I don't know if that's you. I don't get that. We're overwhelmed with the goodness and the greatness of God, and so giving is about our generosity. We're overwhelmed with what God has done. But if I'm just a consumer, it's all about me. I'm here for me. I'm here for what can you do for me? You don't want to be this one. The second one is if I'm a casual giver, I give sporadically, detached, and passively. In other words, I really haven't thought about it. Now, you think about investments. You think about a lot of things in your life that matter to you. So why in the world wouldn't you be strategic about giving? I mean, there's only two kingdoms. There's a kingdom on this earth, and there's an eternal kingdom. One is temporary, one is eternal. So I want you to think about the kingdom that really matters. That's your eternal investment. If I am a reluctant giver, I am fearful, require and ask, and I'm unimaginative. See, these guys in the story were reluctant givers. It was out of fear. It was out of the fear of punishment that God's not going to bless us. Our people are they're going to punish us. Now, this is a good one here. If I'm an intentional giver, I'm thoughtful, I'm joyful, I'm strategic, and I'm invested. Now, there's one more. But I want to encourage you, if you're a consumer, move to the casual. If you're casual, move to the reluctant. If you're reluctant, move to the intentional. And then here's the pinnacle. If I'm a courageous giver, I am motivated, eternally focused, and I'm excited. You see, courageous givers know there's two kingdoms. One's temporary, one's eternal. One I can see, one I cannot see. Courageous givers are about legacy, not success. They're about significance. So I just want you to think about that. All right, get back in the car. We're back on the highway, okay? That was free. 2 Kings chapter 7, there's a tie-in to Mark chapter 5. And in Mark chapter 5, Jesus and his disciples get in a boat and they cross the Sea of Galilee. So picture a clock. And if it's going north, picture now 5 o'clock on a clock. You got it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right down here. That's where they're rowing. They're rowing from over here. They're rowing from about 10:30, 11 o'clock, all the way down to 5 o'clock. They row clear across, and they come to a region that's just a bunch of heathens. They come to a region that are not Jewish. They come to a region where there's pigs, there's swine, and so, Jews wouldn't have, herds of swine. So, it's a region that's rough. The disciples don't even understand why we're in this boat going over there to this place called the Gerasenes. First thing, they get out of the boat, first thing that happens is this crazy man comes running up to Jesus. And the Bible describes this man as a man who lived in the tombs. So I thought about that. And another translation just says like the empty graves. So imagine like a cemetery, and now they're digging graves, and this guy just slept in this one, and then the next night, it's filled up with a body. Now there's another empty one that they're going to prepare for the next day. This guy just lived in the tombs in the cemetery. And it says that he cut himself. And it says he screamed and howled all night long. And this guy was so full of demons that he would break the chain. They would bind him with chains. They would bind his hands, bind his feet, and he would just burst out of these. He is screaming crazy. Well, they rowed to about 5 o'clock over here in this area of Judea, and they get out of the boat, and this guy comes running up to Jesus. And he says, "What do you want with me, Son of the Most High God?" Which even the demons know who Jesus is. And even the demons tremble. And Jesus says, "What's your name?" He says, "My name is Legion," which means many. And now Jesus is going to cast out these demons out of this man. The demons inside of him are begging, "Don't send us out of this area." Man, that's a sermon I don't have time for. You see, what happens is they're territorial. And that's why you still have some of the same struggles in your life over and over and over and over again, because they're territorial. They don't want to give up their territory. That's another day. But what happens now is Jesus casts out these demons, and the demons are begging, "Don't send us out of this area. There's a herd of pigs. Can we go into the pigs?" And Jesus says, "Yeah, And he sends the demons into the herd of pigs, and there's 2,000 pigs now that go over the cliff and commit hara-kiri or cause whatever they do. They kill themselves, the pigs do. And the people are like, what just happened here? Who is this? Because they see this crazy man now dressed in his right mind, calm and peaceful, and now a community player. He's now all in. And the guy who was crazy, who's now calm and filled with the Spirit of God, who was filled with the evil spirit, he's asking to go with Jesus on the missionary journey. And Jesus tells him no. What? All the dude wants to go is get in the boat, go with the boys, and go back to the city. And Jesus says no. So let's pick up the story with the pigs. Those tame the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. The 2,000 pigs just went over the cliff. And the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed. Say that, had been. Ready? Had been. He had been possessed by the legion of demons, sitting there dressed in his right mind. Why are they afraid? Because someone more powerful than this demon-possessed man was now in their midst. Someone they'd never seen, never understood. They don't grasp how powerful the Son of Man is. And they're worried. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened and the demon-possessed man, and told about the pigs as well. I just think it's funny. Of all the things they could talk about, we're talking about pigs. They include the pigs in the story, okay? Why? Because there's always some people who prefer swine to the Son of Man. Think about that over Chili's today, okay? Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave that region. Why? As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. And what does Jesus say? He says no. What a story. Jesus did not let him go, but said, go home. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. And look what the guy does. So the man goes away and began to tell in the Decapolis. These are 10 cities in Syria and in Jordan. These are 10 different major cities. And here's a guy who is crazy and out of it, and he's now sharing what the Lord has done for him. And the people are repenting and coming to Christ in groves. And all the people were amazed. So what did he say? He said, go home. Go home and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he's had mercy on you. So what do? You tell people. You just tell people. You tell them what the Lord has done for you. Now, what has the Lord done for you? You just tell them how the Lord provided, protected, how the Lord opened a door, a window, a scholarship, a business. You inherited something. You did something from scratch. You just tell them he gave you a great brain or a great skill with your hands. What has the Lord done for you? You begin to tell them about, man, spiritually, my sins are forgiven. You just wouldn't believe what you tell them. You just tell them. You tell them what the Lord has done for you. But you got to know what the Lord has done for you in order for you to be able to tell them. And so you tell them how your sins are forgiven. You tell them how, for the first time in your life, you have some peace. You tell them how you now don't have the shame and the guilt, and you tell them you used to be, but now I am. You just tell them. You tell them what the Lord has done. And you begin to say, well, I don't know about the 6 days of creation. You just tell them what the Lord has done. Well, I don't quite know how to harmonize all those angels and those stories and in the Gospels, and there's 2 angels here and there's 1 angel there. You just tell them. Well, I don't have a Greek and Hebrew degree. I do. It's no big deal. What's a big deal, what's a game changer, is you tell them what the Lord has done for you. I got all my heathen friends at Starbucks. They could care less about the cosmological argument, the teleological argument. There was an empty tomb. They don't care about that. They want to know, is there hope? Can Jesus do for me what he's done for you? That's all they're thinking. And everybody wants to know that there's hope. And so Jesus gives us the evangelism strategy and plan. You tell them, you tell them, you tell them, you tell them what the Lord has done. That's what you and I do. Well, I don't quite know how to live as righteous as I need to. Of course you don't. I don't either. But you tell them what the Lord has done for you. I'm not sinless, but I'm sinning less than I used to. So you begin to tell people what no one can argue with what the Lord has done in your life. No one can argue with your experience, how he plucked you out, how he rescued you from that deep pit. Nobody can argue. You tell them. You tell them. You tell them what the Lord has done. And when you tell them what the Lord has done for you, they take notice. I got all this ammunition on apologetics. Most of it isn't worth 2 dead flies. I've been doing this for 38 years. And I'll tell you what works is when you tell them that I once was lost, but now I see. I once was blind. You tell them what the Lord has done for you. The game changer in this story is Jesus. The game changer in your life is Jesus. Yeah, let's give Jesus a round of applause. He's awesome. Jesus is awesome. Because you see what's happened is there's been a transformation within you causing a transformation around you. And when you've been transformed, the Lord's not just working on you, he's inside of you. You just tell them. You tell them what the Lord has done for you. You tell them. And look at this. You've had an encounter. Folks, when you've had an encounter, you carry encounter. And when you carry encounter, nobody can take that away from you. You have an encounter, you carry encounter, and you're never the same. You just tell them. You tell them what the Lord has done for you. Not this Friday, but a week ago Friday, I had some of these invite cards. These are just tools. That's all they are. They're just tools. And I went around, Friday's my day off, and I went around, and I had different places to go and pick up dry cleaners and do this and do this. And so one of the places there, I invited 6 people on that Friday. I think they're all coming. I don't know where we're going to put them, but I think they're all coming. I really do. They're all coming. And so one of them last Sunday morning before the 8:30 service was out in the lobby. This lady that I barely know but invited, she came, and also her husband. Never met her husband before. Great, great people. Yesterday, I'm at Publix. And I'm in Publix, and I am kind of in the back of the line. There's several women in front of me in the checkout line. And the lady and her husband who came the week before, the lady was now checking out. And I yelled, over a couple people to her, hey, and I remembered her name. And I said, hey, so, she turns back to me. She says, oh, we loved it. We loved it. I bought a brand new blouse. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, nobody around, I'm the pastor, what's nobody knows. I mean, that's great, and I'm yelling back over these people, and she said, yeah, I bought a brand new blouse, but I won't see you tomorrow, which is today. We got all the grandkids and the kids, and she said, but we'll be there on Easter. And I'm turning red and I'm sweating, and I'm going to get fired, and I don't know what's going on. And so I got so caught up in that moment that I didn't realize that now the lady in front of me, not the other lady, but the lady in front of me, who I've never met her, she actually got stuck with my groceries. I'm so bamboozled right now with what's going on that the lady in front of me actually bought all my groceries. I don't know that. And I get up there to, I run the, she said, oh, it's zero. I said, well, the food's not free, sweetheart. She said, oh, no. She's a 17, 18-year-old girl. Oh, no. I charged it to that lady in front of you. Do you know her? I said, I don't have a clue who that is. I have no idea who she is. So I'm going out in the parking lot now trying to find some lady I've never met before. And I'm looking at her, and she's got a whole bunch of groceries, and she's putting them in the car. And I go up to her, and I said, ma'am, I said, I'm trying to be funny. I said, this is my lucky day. I said, inadvertently, you just bought my groceries. A couple bags of cereal, some iced tea, blah, 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 about $17 worth. And I said, I think it's about $17. Let me give you 20. And she said, oh, no. You're not taking away my blessing. I don't know her. She doesn't know me. I go home. Danita's at home. I go home. I said, Danita, this woman thinks I'm cute, and she bought my groceries. Denise says, well, how old is she? So well, don't ask that. Don't ask that. That spoils the whole thing. You're messing up my story. And I said, no, this is what happened. And I said, it just happened. And of course, she believes me because things like that happen to me all the time. Just, I couldn't wait to go home and tell somebody what just happened. See, this is a day of great news. And we can't keep it to ourselves. You can't keep this to yourself. I don't know how the Lord touched you. I don't know how he's had mercy on you. I don't know how he's rescued you. I don't know how he's delivered you. I don't know what opportunities, skills, gifts he's given to you. But there's a plethora of blessings in this room that have come from our Heavenly Father. And all we have to do, we just tell them what the Lord has done. So Jesus wouldn't let the guy go with him because all the guy's contacts were right there in those cities. All his friends, all his family, all his influence was right there. And that's you. I don't know your friends. I don't know your family. I don't know your place of employment. These are just tools. Invite people. They honestly want to be invited. Now, they may act big and bad and buck up, but they really do. Christmas and Easter are the two times when people really want to be asked. So invite them. And tell them what the Lord has done for you. I'm overwhelmed with what God has done for me. Are you? I'm absolutely overwhelmed when I think about what the Lord, how merciful he's been to me. So who are the two people that we started this message time with? Who are the two people that you love, you like, you care, you want them to come to Christ, you hope they'll come to Christ? Who are those two people? Now, maybe it's not your responsibility to ask them. Maybe they're out of town. Maybe they're out of state. So you pray for somebody else out of state to invite them to this. But maybe there is somebody right here in your work, in your neighborhood, and you want to ask them. So I'm going to ask you to pray for them because I don't know who they are. You do. So would you stand with me? I'm going to ask our prayer partners to come down front. And we're going to spend the next 45 seconds, and you're going to pray for those two people to come to Christ, to come to church, to be introduced. You're going to pray for them that somehow God will open a window and a door to their lives. All right, let's pray. You have been so good to me and to everyone in this room. You've been so good. And we are in awe of who you are. And we can't help but tell people what you have done for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this next week and the opportunities that we have just to tell people and to invite them. We love you, Jesus. In your amazing name we pray. Amen. Come tonight. You're going to see an ordination service, and we'll be a part of a live recording. See you at 5 o'clock sharp. See you. you.